Stop doubting God. God characterizes his relationship with us through promises. I said God characterizes his relationship with us through promises. I said God characterizes his relationship with us through promises. I said God characterizes his relationship with us through promises. God is a covenant God. Therefore, within the nature of God, he rests upon his very existence. When he said, I am not a man that I should lie. He said, I have already told you I know the end from the beginning. So for you to understand who I am, since I am your creator, to bring you from your doubts, God says, I will deal with you through covenants and promises. Oh, y'all better talk to me. You hear folks say in conversation, I promise you, don't you? Such a thing and such a thing. God's covenants are always based on God making promises, not you. Don't you say that again? I said God's covenants are always based on God making promises, not you. Oh, you say, God, if you get me this job, I promise you. God, if you get me this car, I promise you. God, if you get me this husband, this wife, I promise you. But God never promised us anything based on what we promise him. However, turn to your neighbor and say, However, there is an area or a battle, a conflict where we battle with God and God's promises, only to discover that his promises will always bail us out. We love the promises that God makes, but we are not always on the same page with God when he gives us the promise. I said we love the promises that God makes, but we are not always on the same page with God. As to the route or the way God will take us through in order to keep the promise he has made for the blessing he has wrapped up just for us. You see, God would rather hold your blessing and have you so that whatever he gives you, things are not the way he told you he's going to give it to you, because your response to his promise ought to be not because he gave it to you, but your response ought to be his promise is given to you because you love him. One must not love God based on what he gives you. I said, one must not love God based on what he gives you, but your love for God will be based on God having you and you having God. Is that too deep? See, God is not after giving you stuff. He is after having you so that if you don't receive, you will still have a relationship with God and trust in God. So forget about God giving you stuff. Learn how to trust in God. In the text, promises are made along with instructions. I said, promises are made along with instructions on how one may receive these blessings. So in order for you to receive your promise or your blessings, you've got to follow instructions. How many folk don't want to follow instructions? Look at the text. Look at the text, because it's in the text. It sounds kind of crazy. There is a famine in the land, meaning there's nothing around to keep Isaac and his family. Am I right about it? Look at the text. God says to Isaac, do not go down to Egypt. Stay right where you are. Oh, wait. Back in Genesis chapter 12, there was a previous famine in the land when his daddy, y'all know who his daddy is, huh? Abraham. And so his daddy went down to Egypt, and it appeared to God that God is saying to Isaac, when you get in the same situation your father was in, don't repeat what your daddy did. Because when your daddy went down there, he had just met me. He was not that mature spiritually to fully trust me yet. You wonder why you haven't gotten your full promise yet? It's because you have not gotten spiritually mature enough yet to receive it. So you waiting on that lottery? Lord, if I get the lottery, I'm gonna pay the church so the church can start building right away. Lord, if you give me this promise, God is waiting on you to become spiritually mature enough to receive the promise he said he's going to give you. Am I too deep this morning? So what happens is God gave him leeway, mercy, because he was still leaning on himself, because he had not fully learned how to lean on God. But you have been with me longer than your father, so you should know that what's not based on what happened with your father, you should understand that I'm not going to do for your father what I'm going to do for you based on what your father did, because your spiritual maturity and growth is supposed to be higher than your father, because you watch your father grow in faith. So don't go down to Egypt. There is nothing to suggest that a blessing can happen in a land of famine. Can I say it again? See, there is nothing to suggest that a blessing can happen in a land of your famine. But God gives him some crazy instructions. The text says, stay right there. Listen. Sometimes the directions in which God will give you to go will oftentimes force you to trust in the supernatural provision of God. Because sometimes where God sends you or what he tells you to stay in or where he might tell you to go, there will be nothing in the natural to confirm or indicate what God told you to do. The average person in real estate or what we were doing will tell you that there is nothing natural about where we are at this juncture. Y'all sitting there like, is it too hot in here? Is that the problem? Do we need to turn the air conditioner on? So y'all turn the air conditioner on, somebody, because I want the church to listen. Isaac is blessed because he follows the instructions of God when it appeared as though those instructions which God gave him were not worth following because there was no visible sign. There was no visible sign. Nothing to confirm that what God said would remotely take place. He just had to take God at his word, even though what Isaac saw didn't line up with what God saw or promised. Let's make it real. There have been times when we heard God speak. You've heard God speak. You've heard him speak instructions to you, and you started looking around to see the possibilities. But you saw nothing that could suggest that you were in the right vicinity. Am I right about it? Think about it. If it's possible, you may even question God. You said, God, are you sure this is where you want me to be? God, are you sure this is what you want me to do? You think I'm lying? What about Naaman the leper? Told him to go dip in the muddy Jordan River. Now the man got leprosy. That don't make no sense. God says, trust me and I will bless you, even when it looks like there is no possibility of a blessing around your vicinity. Here's our problem. We want to go where we know there are resources. You want to go where you know beyond a shadow of a doubt you're going to be all right. And guess what? That's natural. It's called self-preservation. Turn to your neighbor and say self-preservation. Self-preservation. Here's the problem, though. When I leave where God tells me to stay and move to a location where I think I can see it, my blessing will never get to me because I'm not where I should be. Did you get it or did you miss it? But God says, if you would just take me at my word, I will bless you right where you are, where it appears as though there is nothing there for you. I don't know about you, but I would rather have God with me than somebody promising me a paycheck. I would rather be in the right place where God planted me than be in the wrong place. The reason some of us can't shout is because God has given us some instructions to follow and stay in a certain location which we have been asking God for us to get out of. Oh, preach, Pastor Cox. God says you can't see what I see. You don't know what I know. I want you to stay right where I put you until you understand that I am the one who will heal you, that I am the one who will touch you. I am the one who can fix what nobody else can fix in your life. Listen at this. This is my lesson, my personal lesson. Mature faith says, I may not want to be where he is telling me to be, but if that's where God said he wants me to be, then that's where I'm going to be. That's mature faith. Mature faith means that my prayers, even though they may not be answered right away, they will be answered. Watch what God will do. I call this blind obedience. What do I call it? What do I call it? Blind obedience. Meaning your disobedience or your obedience will last longer than the season of your decision. Can you get someone to go and turn the air on? I'm burning up here. I done said it 2 or 3 times. Can you get the deacon to do something with this air? Y'all excuse me for a few moments before I trip. It don't make no sense. You got that one on? I can't help it. Y'all just forgive me. Oh, my God. All right. Let me get back to the sermon. Can I get y'all to look at verses 3 and 6? God says, if you do this, I will bless you. Not only will I bless you, but I will bless your seed and multiply your seeds like the stars in heaven, which means your children will be blessed. Just because you followed and obeyed my word, watch this. I hear God saying, I will bless you in a barren land. But watch what God says. It's in the text. God says the only reason you will be blessed in the position is to see me. Watch this and learn. Because of the promise I made to him, he walks blindly, but I didn't promise to bless him. I said to Abraham, if you obey my voice, I will also bless your seed. Ooh. Meaning, if you follow what your father did, I will also bless your children. In other words, if you obey my voice, it doesn't matter how things look for you, you are going to make it. Which means, once you have learned your lesson, I'm going to not only bless you, but I'm going to bless even your children. So, my children's blessing, my children's inheritance is based on me. So if I have not received the promise, that means my child will not receive the promise. Now watch this and get it good. Abraham left the land because it was famine, but he left because he did not have the full spiritual maturity that Isaac had. But God blessed him because he listened. Isaac is told not to leave. Isaac stays put. He stays close. And what does he receive? A blessing. Lesson. Obeying God, doing what he says, is not just about your current satisfaction or present reward, but it is also for future transactions from God's storehouse. Can I say it again? Because you didn't get it. Obeying God, doing what he says, is not just about your current satisfaction or your present reward, but it's also for future transactions from God's storehouse. Meaning, I'm faithful today, I'm faithful tomorrow, I'm faithful next year, I'm faithful next month, and then I can say, well, Lord, I'm in trouble right about now. My bank account is on zero. I'm in trouble right about now. But Lord, because I trusted you, Lord, because I did what you said you wanted me to do, I'm going to go ahead on and I'm going to walk by faith and not by sight. And when I walk, I'm going to receive it. Oh, I know what I'm talking about. Anybody ever been driving and their car was on empty? Oh, come on, talk. Has anybody been driving on empty and the car said 3 miles? And 3 miles went on by? Oh, y'all come, anybody up in here? And somehow or another you made it to the next gas station. Come on, talk to me. That's because you trusted in God. Your parents didn't live in a mansion, but you had a roof over your head. Oh, come on, huh? You didn't drive a Bentley. My daddy used to drive a beat up Chevrolet, but we rode just the same. Oh, yeah. Never once do I remember being hungry. Never once did I remember not having clothes on my back. I do remember every evening, they don't do that no more. We sit around the table and say a blessing, and we had red beans and rice and praise the Lord, cornbread and greens. Oh, y'all don't have to talk to me. I know what God has done. You wearing the clothes your parents should be wearing. You wearing or driving the cars your parents ought to be driving. Because they believed and trusted in God. Oh, can I go on a little bit longer, or do I need to sit down? Look at what happens when Isaac is obedient. Look at the text. Isaac says to his wife, don't tell them who you are. Don't tell them you are my wife. Tell them you are my sister. Y'all heard that, Genesis 12:13. Now watch this. When Abraham found himself down in Egypt, he told Sarah, don't tell them you are my wife. Tell them you are my sister. In both cases, they try to pass off their wives as sisters. Look at it. When God promised Abram he would be blessed, he started lying. When God made that same thing to Isaac, he started lying. But watch this. Whenever, y'all gonna shout, whenever God attempts to bless you, the enemy will try to sow division in godly relationships, but the blessings that God has given you will show up anyhow. Y'all shout about that. See, the enemy attempts to break up Abram and Sarah through fear. The enemy attempts to break up Isaac and Rebekah through fear. Why am I scared to move, scared to move toward Pleasant Run in Joe Wilson? Why am I scared to get out of 825 West Pentagon? Why am I scared when God has blessed me thus far? I need to learn how to trust in him. Here was the thing that caught me while I was studying. You can mess up your blessings over strife. The enemy will always break relationships that brings about blessings. Y'all missed that. The enemy, I said, will always break up relationships that will bring blessings. Strife in the church, we mess up our blessings. The enemy wishes to bring strife. The devil doesn't come to church all the time by himself. Sometimes we bring him. Lesson. When God gives you seemingly crazy instructions and you have nothing around you to suggest that what God is telling you that he will do, you must be mature enough to maximize your moments and minimize your misery. Can I say that again? One must learn how to maximize your moment so you can deal with the misery. God says, stay where the famine is. Lesson. Look at the text. Here's what Isaac does. The text says he sowed in that land. I said he sowed in the land where God told him to dwell. You missed it. Isaac sows in a land where there was nothing to dwell on. It's in the text. Isaac decides, if this is where God desires to plant and position me, then I'm going to maximize my moment by doing what I can to make sure my mind stays focused on God where God wants me to stay. See, my mind shouldn't get miserable, and the reason why my mind should not get miserable is because I know what God has done for me in the past. Because you can't learn how to sow a praise in the land of your famine when you're having issues. Isaac sows in a land where it appears as though it's not worth sowing into. Lesson. Isaac is able to sow in this land of famine because everything that he already possessed had run out. Too many of us have not learned how to maximize what you already have. Lesson. Give God what you have and watch God move. I said, give God what you have and watch God move.